As the internet has become a more and more important and ingrained part of our everyday lives in modern society, what's become really obvious about your website is that it's not so important how many users you have coming to your site. What's more interesting and what's more important is how people are engaging once they come to your site. Are they coming in and moving through your site? Are they interested in it? Are they reading it? Are they interacting with the interactive elements? That sort of stuff. And the best way to build engagement and to build interaction is to talk to people. But how do you talk to people on a scalable level when you've got thousands of people coming in and you need to be on a chat talking to them all the time? You can't do it by yourself, and you might have to spend a lot of money hiring a huge team. There's actually a third option, and that option is an AI chatbot. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly what an AI chatbot is, what it can do for you, some great chatbot options, and I'm going to show you how to plan and build your very own chatbot today, quickly and easily. My name's Trent Kennelly. I'm a marketing strategist, and on this channel, I talk about all the things that you can do to improve your business through marketing, sales, and analytics. So that sounds good to you and you're excited. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're into it, comment and let me know whether you love or hate these chatbots that are just coming up everywhere nowadays. I think it's probably going to be a little bit of both, and let's get started. Okay, so what is an AI chatbot and what can it do for you? Really, an AI chatbot is any chat on your site that has bot functionality. So any kind of automated functionality on its own. So most sites nowadays will have some sort of chat, but a lot of them will have a manpower behind it at all times. If you ever see a chatbot for Zendesk, for instance, most of the time that's going to have a real person behind it. But there are lots of bots out there that will allow you to interact directly with people without actually having to be in front of the computer, because you're going to be answering questions that they already have, or you're going to be guiding them down the right path. It's kind of like customer-facing automation. If you've seen automation, you definitely have if you've been on this channel before, but if you've seen automation like on email, where you'll have a bunch of different functions and you'll say, okay, if they respond this way, then they'll get this email. If they respond this way, they'll get this email. Did they open? Did they not open? How should we be sending them? All that sort of like question and answer stuff is happening in real time with one of these chatbot automations, and they're allowing people to kind of answer those questions on their own rather than needing to kind of figure it out from context clues in the back end where you would with email. So you can prompt people by asking them questions, you can give them options to go down certain paths, and the huge advantage here is that once you have a very clear understanding of what path they want to take, it's much easier to get them down the path to the right exact page to where they're going to need to be. So for instance, if they're just looking for free stuff, you can send them to the free stuff, which will allow you to keep them in your email list so that you can keep churning through and bringing them back to the page using your email marketing. If they're ready to buy, then you can send them directly to the sales page and they'll be ready to go, and they'll just go directly to that, and it'll kind of push them in that direction. But they're basically going to tell you how that works if your chatbot is built out appropriately. So let's talk about a few different options that we can look at. Now, I can't cover all of them. There are so many options for chatbots, but I'm going to cover some of the top ones, some of the ones that I've really appreciated in the past, and some of them that I think you should look at. So let's take a look first at Intercom. Intercom is really expensive. I'm talking about like $150 a month, I think, on the low end, but it is expensive for a reason. It is a highly malleable system. It sorts leads and customers, it separates those two so you can very easily identify which ones need to be pursued in which ways, etc. It allows tagging and handoff very well. It works very well with other systems through Zapier as a third-party API connector, or directly through certain systems. It can do that very easily. One big downside though to Intercom is its email functionality. It pushes out that it's a good email system, but honestly, it's really not a good email system. It doesn't have good deliverability. For some reason, it doesn't have that same high-level automation functionality inside of its email. So what that really means is that if you actually want good email automations, you have to pay for a separate system on top of Intercom. So that's a really huge downside. ActiveCampaign chat is another option. Now, if you have an ActiveCampaign email system already, you still have to pay extra for this. I believe it's $15 a month extra. And honestly, it's just not as intelligent. The huge benefit here is that it's connected to the rest of your email system, and that sounds like a low benefit, but because you have all those automations on the email system that interact back with the chat, you can get those interactions going and you can have some level of chatbot functionality. But honestly, it just isn't as intelligent as Intercom or some of the others that we're going to see. So it's not as enticing of an option. especially because you're paying extra for it on a system that's already relatively expensive, but generally very good for email. Next is HubSpot Chat. So HubSpot Chat is part of HubSpot, the best CRM, in my opinion, out there. It's also by far the most expensive. It's so expensive that I have a hard time referring startups to it because it's so expensive. Even with their startup deal, it just balloons so quickly after the first year that it's really hard to manage. So I really have a hard time suggesting that startups use it because of its sheer price. But that said, the chat functionality, automations, the workflows, the email system, all of it really works together very, very well. And so it's a leg up on Intercom because Intercom basically has the chat function, a little bit of a CRM, and that's it. And this is the whole system. It is your hub, right? HubSpot. So it works very well, and it's a very impressive system. And the automations and the intelligence with those automations for chat are very, very good. All right, and then the last one I want to talk about is Chatfuel. So Chatfuel is the most interesting one to me here. And the reason for that is that you can connect it to your Facebook page. In fact, it's intended to be a chatbot for your Facebook page. But the reason that this is interesting for your website is that you can take your Facebook Messenger and attach it as a chat tool on your website. And so it works functionally for both rather than just one of those two. So it's really nice and easy that way. Now, of course, there are data concerns with Facebook, as we talked about in many videos, including this one from last week. But I think it's really still interesting to start because it's free to build your automation. Just keep in mind that you have to have 50 users or under to really be able to use it to full functionality, otherwise it'll shut down. And then there are other features that cost money, but the actual functionality of building out the bot costs you nothing. The big downside to Chatfuel, though, is that once you connect the bot to your Facebook page, it is live. There is no testing environment. You just have to build it as best you can beforehand and then optimize and correct once you make it live as quickly as possible. Not the greatest user experience for anybody who's caught in the middle, but it is what it is. So this is what we're gonna use for now to show you how to build this out on your page because it's free and it's quick and it's easy to build. Okay, so before we actually start putting this in place, I think it's always important to plan. It just makes things a lot easier when you're going a little bit further down the line. So let me just kind of show you what I've done. So this is an app called MindNode. And the idea here, you might have heard of it before, but the idea here is that it just kind of allows you to build out a path. There's lots of different things you can do with a platform like this, but I use it to build out my automations. So in this case, I have 4 different things. I've got entry, message, response button, and free response. Those are what these things mean. And so the entry is the entry point. So we've got, they click get started on Chatbot. You're always gonna have that. There's no way to get around that. If anybody's gonna use Chatfuel, they have to use get started. If you're gonna use any bot associated with Facebook, you have to click the get started button on Facebook through the messenger to actually make that happen. Then we're going to come into a message. So it says, hey there, how can I help you today? And then there are 3 button responses. So these will be actual buttons that they can click. There's, I have a question, I'm interested in coaching, or just looking for some free guides. I don't know why that one's in quotes, but just ignore it. So if you come to I have a question, this is probably the most amorphous one. So I'll show you kind of what we're going to do here. So we've got, I have a question. You send a message back that says, great, I'm happy to help. Just tell me what you need. And then they'll give a free response answer. Then you're going to say, oh, thanks for the question. I'm a bot. So I've sent this along to Trent and he'll answer your question ASAP. Anything else I can help you with, blah, blah, blah. So what's happening here is that you're going to get a free response. Now you might not always be in front of your messenger to be able to answer this. I'm certainly not. And so what I typically do, because you don't get notifications on this, or at least it's not as easy to get, I'll go to Zapier, which is a system that attaches different systems. And I'll say, okay, Zapier, Chatfuel, whenever you get a message from somebody on the system, alert me on Slack, okay? And so then I'll get a message on Slack with the question, and then I can go answer them directly, okay? So that's just the way I do it. There's lots of different ways that you can do it. I'm not really gonna dig into that specific aspect here. We can talk about Zapier probably down the road at some point because it is very important to discuss. So at the same time as that back-end action is happening, you're saying, oh, thanks for your question. I'm a bot, so I've sent this along to Trent, and he'll answer you ASAP. Anything else I can help you with? So you can say, I have another question, and what that'll do is that'll route them back up to this response here to I have a question.
or if it's I'm interested in coaching, then it'll send them here, or there should be a third one here. So we'll just add that quickly. That says just looking for some free guides, and then you would send them to just looking for some free guides. So you're basically allowing them to cycle through everything that you want them to be able to do at the same time. Second option is I'm interested in coaching. So this is really easy. You're just sending a message, fantastic, I'd love to help. Check out this page to figure out what would work for you, and then you're linking them to the site. Very simple. So if you're linking them to the site and they're on Facebook, if they're on the Facebook page, then it's going to take them to that specific page. If they're on the website, it'll just redirect them to the appropriate page on the website. So either way, it's kind of an external link. It's doing the same thing. It doesn't matter where you are necessarily. So what you can probably see at this point is I'm writing it relatively generically because we want to make sure that we're balancing if anybody's seeing it on Facebook versus if anybody is seeing it on your web page. So we want to make sure we mix those two. And then the third option, just looking for some free guides. So you say, oh, sounds good. So what are you looking for? So what I did here is I have 2 guides that are very popular, and then I have my link to my other guides. And so my marketing trends guide is the most recent one. You can check that out, link in the description, and you can get that if you want to. And this will do the exact same thing effectively. Message, link to site. LinkedIn one, message, link to site. Otherwise, if it says something else, then you say, okay, no problem, message, and then you link to the general guides page. So we're going to set all of this up with a Facebook Messenger chatbot. The first thing we're going to do then after that is we need to set up Facebook so that we can use the chat function on our website. So I'm doing this from scratch. What you're going to see is that I don't have it at all on my website right now. So let's just go take a look at my website and you'll see. So see, no chatbot at all. So we will probably need to build that out, obviously from scratch. So to install the Facebook Messenger chat plugin, it's just a bit of code that you put on your site. The easiest way to do it if you have WordPress is to just get the plugin for it. I mean, I know that's a lot of plugins on your site, but as long as you're using something like WP Optimize, you should be fine there to make sure that you have everything cleaned up. You can check out this video if you want to understand how to clean those things up a little bit better. In any case, if you're not on WordPress and you're on some other system and you need to just take the code and plug it in, you would go to your Facebook page, to your admin panel, you would click on settings here, and then you would click on messaging. And then at the bottom of the page here, you're going to see that you've got add messenger to your website right here. You just click get started there, and then you go from there. But for us who are on WordPress, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to install a plugin. So I'm just going to go plugins, add new. We're going to search for Messenger. And then I'm just going to use the official Facebook chat plugin. I think it's just going to be the easiest for now. Install that, activate. Go down near the bottom where it says customer chat. And then we're going to set up chat plugin. It's going to take us back over to Facebook. So we're selecting our page. Continue. Next. So we're just going to set this up pretty quickly. So I have my language here. I've got my greeting that I can change to, hey there, what can I help you with today? So let's change that, save that. We can allow people to chat without logging in. So that'll make life a lot easier, makes things a lot smoother. Let's go next. We can change custom colors if we want. These colors are pretty close to mine, so I'm not going to change them. But if you want to, it's just as simple as clicking in here and changing your hex code. If you don't know how to find your hex code, you can just Google a hex code finder and it'll be able to do that for you. Or if you have a system like Affinity Photo or Photoshop, there's a little eyedropper tool. You just highlight the color that you want and it'll tell you what the hex code is on the sidebar. It's pretty simple to find that. So we'll go ahead and click finish, and the chat plugin is ready. We're going to click done. And then we're going to come over here and load the site and see what happens. So I'm just going to open up my site really quickly. And we should, in just a moment, see a plugin pop up right down here in the bottom right corner. There we go. Okay, so Facebook plugin is in. So now comes the hard work, okay? So now we want to have this Chat Fuel plugin to build out the page. So we're just going to go ahead and add a blank bot here. We're not going to connect anything yet because, like I mentioned before, with Chat Fuel, if you start to connect things, then it's live. And so you're going to have a half-built bot, and anybody who's looking at it is going to have a bad user experience. So let's not do that. So let's go ahead and add a blank bot, and then we're going to go ahead and click on it. So when you come in, you're going to come to a blank bot like this one, and there are a bunch of different options for things that you can do. Let me just walk you through them quickly. So flow is new. So this is more visual way of setting up your automation, which is really nice because before it was set up as automate, which is these boxes. You add things like imaginary typing, redirect to, quick replies, that sort of stuff. And then you have to kind of work with these blocks here, and it's just a little bit clunky and confusing. So it's really kind of nice to have this flow set up instead. These AIs, so what you're seeing here is if somebody says hi and you only have smart text set up to detect hello, this will say, okay, hi and hello are the same thing, or hey is also part of that. And so this can be a very good thing that you build up over time. What you would typically want to do is anything where there's a free entry text, you want to see what ulterior usages of words and the way people are typing them there are, and then you add those into this over time. So it won't be very sophisticated at first, but over time, as you build out, it will get better and better. So that's the idea there. And this is where your users are, the people tab. Then there are some other things that you can do. Some of these are premium features, but you can start to work on push messages. Now, that's something that's a little bit more difficult with current EU laws, but it still could be an interesting thing to do if you're not working with people who are in the EU, so just keep that in mind. Then there's some setup configuration things. Obviously, I'm not pro right now, so I don't have a pro plan, and so I'm going to get a CTA there. And then there's analysis. You typically aren't going to get analysis right away because there's nothing to analyze, right? So in this case, there's 3 users or more before they can give you kind of an analysis of any kind to tell you what like the users are and that sort of stuff. But we're going to live in this flows tab today. So we're going to start out, we're just going to follow this flow that we already set up outside of the system, and we're just going to implement that inside the ChatFuel system. So let's go ahead and get started, and we're going to assume that they've already clicked the Get Started button, and we're going to say, okay, hey there, how can I help you? Now, it could be that we're going to see duplicate text here because we already have a hey there, how can I help you in the beginning of the Facebook chat. Then they have to click Get Started, and then they have to come here. So I think we'll probably have to adjust that, but we'll just kind of see how that goes as we get there. Then we're going to add buttons. So we've got, I have a question, I'm interested in coaching, or just looking for some free guides. So let's start with I have a question. I'll just copy that, and the answer is I have a question. We're going to add another button, and this button is going to be I'm interested in coaching, so we're going to click on that there. Looks like the text is too long, so we'll just go ahead and shorten that to I want coaching. And we'll connect that up in just a second, and we're just going to add one more button, and that button is going to be free guides, because it's going to be too long again if we had the whole thing. So cool. So we can add an action here, and the action is going to be text and buttons. Add the text there. So after we got that entered in there, we want to come down here and add a button. And so that button is going to be just a link to a URL. So we're going to go up and we're going to grab the correct URL. So since we're referring people to coaching here, we want to go grab that particular link, and we're just going to insert that link here. And we're going to say, just click here. Great. Done. So that one is done. So if we look at what we've got to do, we've got I'm interested in coaching, and we've knocked that one completely out. So the next one we're going to do is I have a question. We're going to come up here and we're going to connect this one to text and a button. So we can probably go ahead and delete this action. We don't really even need that. And let's just go ahead and move things around so they're a little bit more visible. Great. So send a message. We're also going to send a message for this. Copy that. Paste it there. So the next thing that's going to happen is we're going to add user input. So we're going to add content, and we're going to come down here to save user input, and we're going to allow them to put in the information that they want, right? And so we're going to add this to an attribute because, and this is the thing that I'm not really going to cover here, we would want to send this message to somebody else and let them know that this question has been asked somewhere off-site, or just kind of notify them through Slack or something like that. So we'll go ahead and just call it user input. And then the next step is to take them back to the beginning if they need to be there. And so we'll just go ahead and ask them again if there's anything else they need. So let's look back at our reference here. And this is where we're going to tell them, thanks for your question, I'm a bot. So let's go ahead and put that in there. You might be wondering at this point, why did I write I'm a bot? You might have heard before Well, you want people to feel like they're actually talking to a person, and that's actually not totally true. So there have been studies that have been done very recently. One just came out in Harvard Business Review a few months ago, that if your robots are more like robots, people are more likely to buy from them. If they're too lifelike, I don't know if it's like they're creepy or something, but it puts people off a little bit. They're less likely to buy if your robot is too lifelike. It's almost like it's too close to home or something. And so you actually want it to be a little bit robotic so that people feel a little bit more comfortable buying it. Okay, so that's why in this text, I specifically say I'm a bot. Okay, and then we're going to say, okay, we've sent it along, and we're going to give them options to loop them back in to the rest of the flow. So let's add those buttons. And then it looked to me when I first set this up, like I could just go ahead and redirect them back to specific blocks, but it looks like the flow isn't quite there yet. So what we're going to do instead is I'm just going to say, okay, is there anything else I can help you with? And then we'll just take them back to the beginning of this flow completely. So we'll go ahead and add the button, and we're just going to say yes. And then we'll go ahead and have that redirect to the beginning of this flow. So we'll just go redirect to flow, and we're going to click the block, and we're going to click new flow because I haven't changed the name yet. And then for no, we'll just say, okay, thanks so much, and then we'll end the bot, okay? And we'll just go ahead and add text here. Okay, thanks for visiting, and we're good to go. Let's just separate those out so we can see them a little bit better. Great. Okay, so those two are done. What do we have so far? Out of the 3 sections of this bot where we have I have a question, I want coaching, and free guides, we have I have a question is taken care of, where we have a user input that's going to be sent via Zapier or some other tool, whatever you want to use as a third-party tool. It's going to then say, hey, we've got that recorded. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Is there anything else we can answer? Yes or no, and it's going to either send you back or it's going to just end the bot. And then we have I want coaching, and that's going to send them directly to the web page. And then the final thing that we want to add is potential links to free guides. So we can go ahead and do that in very similar fashion to what we've done now. So we're just going to come over here to the guides on the Mind node, and we're going to have the first one is going to say sounds good. So button 1 will be marketing trends. So I'm going to just type in marketing trends. The second one is linked in guide, and then the third one will be something else. And so we're going to come up to my website, and we'll do resources, guides, marketing trends. So I know I'm going to want this and a couple others, so I'm just going to go ahead and open all 3 of them now. Now you're going to notice I haven't put any tracking info on this. I would advise that you do that. Honestly, I would put the UTM codes in there and everything. Maybe I'll do a guide on that sometime in the future, but for now, just to simplify things, I'm just kind of going without the guide. So you'll be able to see how this works together in just a minute. Now we're going to add a text and a link to each of these. Here's text for marketing trends. Good choice. Here you go. Add a button. We're going to just say on the button, it's just going to be get the guide. And then you've got the link there. And then we're done with that one because that's going to link you away. So there's absolutely no reason to continue to add text or anything like that there. So we're going to do that 2 more times, and we're good to go. So the big question here is, do we have a closed loop? Are there any things that are kind of outstanding and anybody kind of sits there and doesn't do anything? No, that is not the case. So we've got the new flow that's going to take them to 3 different branches. Each of these branches will either redirect them back or take them onto the website, or in one case, it's just going to say buy. But it'll at least say buy, right? Because there's nothing else to do at that point. They're not interested in continuing, so you can just kind of end the chatbot at that point. So this is very simple. We're just going to take this now, we're going to connect it to our page, and then we're going to just test it out and make sure everything works as we expect it to. So connect the page, and I'm going to select this page. Okay, and so then we're going to test the flow. So it's as simple as just clicking test this flow here, and it's going to ask you if you want to open it in Messenger. So just open it in Messenger, and it'll have you sign in or say, yes, I'm signing in as a person. So we'll see here in just a second. So you're going to see that there are a few old ones. So ignore those because this is my old message stream. You'll see a bunch of different versions of this, but let's just look at this one here at the bottom. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to see is, hey there, how can I help you? And I'm going to click either I have a question or I want coaching or free guide. So let's click I have a question. So it's going to show that it's reading it right away. Great. Happy to help. Just tell me what you need. Oh, look, there's a mistake. So I left quotes on it. So we probably just need to get rid of those quotes. But here I'm just going to write, this is a test, and we'll just click enter there. And it'll say thanks for the question. It looks like there's a response, an auto response from Facebook as well. So I'll need to make sure that I clean that up, which we can go in and we can clean that up on Facebook as well. But for now, look, we've got my response here that says, thanks for your question. I'm a bot, so I've sent this along to Trent, and he'll answer your question ASAP. Again, that would be where Zapier would come into play and would forward that information. So anything I can help you with, you click yes, and it's going to take you back to the beginning. So then let's click on I want coaching. And you just click here, and it's going to take you over to the coaching page. Now, the nice thing about this just being buttons is I can now say free guides, and we can test that as well because it's just reading it as text here, you see. So I'm going to click free guides, and we've got marketing trends, LinkedIn guide, and something else. I can click all three of those, make sure that those are linking as well. And then there's your user experience. So clearly a few things I need to clean up here. I can get those cleaned up, but really that's all you need to do. You just need to quickly test it and optimize it. But for the most part, because this is set up like a flow now, which is very nice, it's easy to see how that is built out and put into place. And so it just makes things a lot smoother and faster.
So make sure that you use this AI chatbot in a way that is going to increase the engagement. You should always stay focused on that engagement. And please, when you've done this, let me know the result. I would love to know if you see that bounce rate going down on your website, or if you see anything else improving as a result of putting in an AI chatbot. And even if you hate these, I want you to think about using it because it really is effective. But if you do hate it, please comment why you hate it. And if you love it, please comment why you love it. I would really love to know. In any case, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're into it, and I will catch you in the next one.